The door slammed shut behind me. The suitcase thudded heavily on the floor, but she wasn't in the hallway. Usually, she would rush into my arms, kiss me, and ask how everything went. Today, emptiness. I walked into the kitchen. On the table, no dinner, just a cup with a dried coffee stain. A strange feeling washed over me. It was as if I had entered someone else's home. I turned at the sound of footsteps. She came out of the bedroom, forcing a smile. "Hi," she said, awkwardly fixing her hair. "Hi," I replied, trying to hide the chill in my voice. "How was your week?" She froze for a moment as if not expecting the question, then lowered her gaze to her phone. "Usual," she answered briefly. Everything seemed normal, but something inside wouldn't settle. I quickly checked the cameras through the app on my phone. Everything in order: living room, hallway, kitchen. Only the bedroom. The bedroom was inactive. The last recording was 3 days ago. I opened the archive and suddenly froze. On the screen, she reached out to the camera and turned it off. Her hands were visible, slightly trembling, and her nervous glance at the door. A shiver ran down my spine. Why did she do that? My anxiety grew. I slowly raised my eyes to her, standing by the window with her phone in hand. Inside, I felt a coldness. I knew there was something hidden behind that strained smile. Sleeping in our bedroom suddenly became unbearable. She lay beside me but felt distant, as if her thoughts were wandering somewhere else. I lay on the edge of the bed, trying to breathe quietly so as not to disturb her. She slept, turned away from me, but her sleep was restless, adjusting the blanket, turning from one side to another. I stared at the dim phone screen, replaying the recording over and over. That very moment, her hand slowly reaching for the camera, tension on her face. She turns it off. Why? I replayed the footage again, probably for the 100th time that night. My heart pounded in my chest. When did I become so suspicious? When did I stop trusting? Maybe I'm just overworked and overthinking? But why did she turn off the camera herself? Does she have something to hide? A thought flashed through my mind. Could someone have come over? I remembered the few times I came home earlier than expected, finding her sitting on the couch with a neighbor. Back then, I didn't think much of it: friendly conversations, smiles. And now? He often helped around the house. A nice, reliable guy. Or was I mistaken? Lying in the dim light, I tried to find a reasonable explanation for her actions. Maybe the camera broke? Maybe she was just trying to fix it? Or was she hiding someone? I closed my eyes, but there were no answers. Just the dark bedroom and her cold silence. In the morning, she went to the store. I took the chance, found a small wireless camera and installed it in the corner behind a plant on the windowsill. The view of the bed was perfect. My heart was racing, not from fear of getting caught, but from the dread of discovering the truth. When she returned, I was already sitting in the kitchen with a cup of coffee, trying to mask my anxiety. She smiled, lightly touching my shoulder, and said something about groceries. I nodded, but wasn't listening. My thoughts were in the bedroom with the camera that was now secretly watching. All day I tried to act as usual, but the tension was pounding at my temples. She looked at me more attentively than before, as if trying to figure out what was wrong. I just smiled back, each time slightly strained. Later in the evening, I went to the office under the pretext of work and opened the app. The camera was active. The bedroom was dark, just the dim light from the window. I waited, not taking my eyes off the screen. And then the door slightly opened. She entered, walked around the room, then suddenly froze and looked straight in the direction of the camera, although I was sure she couldn't see it. A moment of silence, then she abruptly approached the light switch and turned off the light. The screen plunged into darkness. A chill ran down my spine. How did she know? Did she guess? Or was it just a coincidence? Why does the light always go out when I video call from business trips? I started noticing small things, seemingly insignificant, but now they formed a disturbing pattern. The morning started with her gentle touch. She ran her hand through my hair and smiled. But the smile seemed forced, as if she already knew I was suspicious. I got up and went to the kitchen. The coffee maker was still warm, although she claimed she had just woken up. A fresh mug stood on the windowsill. It had mint tea in it, even though she usually only drinks coffee in the mornings. I remembered the recording again, how she turned off the light in the bedroom when she noticed the camera. We had breakfast in silence. I noticed her discreetly checking her phone, nervously fidgeting with the spoon. We used to always chat, discuss the day's plans, but now, just awkward silence and occasional glances. After breakfast, she said she was going to visit a friend. I nodded, hiding my tension. As soon as the door closed behind her, I went to the window and cautiously peeked out. She didn't go to the bus stop. Instead, she turned the corner towards the neighbor's house. A realization hit me. At that very moment, when she turned off the light, I remembered seeing a shadow outside the window. I recalled it vividly, like a flash. I rushed to the camera, opened the archive. Rewinding the recording, I saw, when she entered the bedroom, there was indeed a silhouette outside the window. A man. I leaned back in my chair, feeling like everything inside me was tearing apart. Who was it? And why was she so anxious around me? The whole day passed in anxious anticipation. I tried to act as usual, but my thoughts wouldn't let me be. In the evening, when she returned, I pretended to be working in the study. She came in, said that the meeting with her friend went well, but her voice trembled. I just nodded, trying not to reveal my suspicions. Late at night, I rewatched the recording. The quality was poor, but I noticed movement in the background. A man in dark clothes stood near the neighbor's house, looking around. I took a screenshot, trying to figure out who it could be. My heart tightened with a new realization. Perhaps the neighbor wasn't just a witness. What if he was somehow involved? I felt despair building inside. I needed to find out more, urgently. Why did she go to the neighbor instead of her friend? I had to know the truth. When I asked her about the friend, she hesitated. Her answer sounded strained, as if I had caught her off guard. That evening, I tried to stay calm. She came home a bit later than usual, with a slight smile on her face, as if everything was the same. I waited for her to start talking, but she just asked if I wanted some tea. "How's your friend?" I asked casually, watching her reaction. "Good," she answered, slightly flustered. "We just chatted." "About what?" Couldn't hold back. "Oh, just work. And her new boyfriend." She turned to the cupboard, and I noticed her fingers trembling. Not true. Her friend recently broke up and said she wasn't ready for a new relationship. A chill ran down my spine. "Are you sure she has someone?" I pressed. She paused for a split second, then nodded uncertainly. "Yeah, she mentioned it, I think." Her voice grew quieter. After dinner, I retreated to the study again. My mind couldn't process it. Why did she lie? And why go to the neighbor instead of her friend? I opened the camera on my phone. The bedroom was again shrouded in darkness. I put on my jacket and went outside. I walked around the house and stopped in front of the neighbor's windows. The living room light was on, and behind the sheer curtain, I saw shadows moving. I listened but only heard muffled laughter. My heart sank. When I came back home, she was already lying in bed. I stood by the bedroom door, listening to her steady breathing, but couldn't make myself take a step. I had to find out what was behind her lie. But how, without destroying everything? Couldn't sleep. Thoughts, suspicions, and fears spun in my head. What if the truth was worse than I imagined? The night dragged on endlessly. I lay in the darkness, feeling the tension clenching my chest. She breathed steadily beside me, her face peaceful, like a person without secrets. I turned toward the window, trying to still the tremor in my hands. In the morning, she woke up earlier than me, as if avoiding conversation. I noticed her fingers sliding over her phone screen, as if checking something important. I wanted to ask, but swallowed the lump in my throat. Not the right time. I tried to distract myself with work, but my thoughts wouldn't let go. The silhouette of the man by the window kept flashing in my memory. What if the neighbor was really involved? Maybe he was manipulating her? Or was my jealousy turning into a monstrous obsession? During lunch, I went outside to get some fresh air. I pulled out my phone and opened the camera app. The bedroom was still dark. I checked the time, midday. My legs felt weak, and I sat down on a bench near the office. My thoughts were a mess, but I knew I had to act. Back at home, I started looking for evidence, documents, receipts, messages. Everything seemed normal. But on the kitchen windowsill, I noticed dust marks, as if someone had recently moved the vase. It always stood straight, never out of place. In the evening, I casually asked, "Did you go somewhere today?" She looked up, slightly frowning. "No, I was home all day." "Why?" "Just seemed like it," I mumbled, feeling everything inside me break. She had lied again. Who actually came into our house? And why is she trying to hide the truth again? I couldn't take the guessing anymore. I decided to confront the neighbor directly and find out once and for all. The next day, I waited. The neighbor came home from work, his usual friendly smile on his face, keys jingling in his hand. I stepped forward, blocking his path. "Hey," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Oh, hey, how was the business trip?" he asked with his usual friendliness. "Fine," I replied curtly. "Listen, were you home yesterday?" He squinted slightly as if caught off guard. "Yesterday? Yeah, I think so. Why?" "I just saw you by the window," I continued, carefully watching his face. He smiled slightly. "Oh, yeah, I sometimes go out to the balcony for some air. Everything all right?" His words sounded perfectly calm, but I sensed a hint of tension behind the smile. "Got it?" I squeezed out, feeling irritation grow inside me. "By the way, do you happen to know why the bedroom light keeps going off?" For a second, his expression froze, but he quickly looked away. "Well, I'm an electrician, remember? The wiring there is pretty old. I helped fix it once. Maybe it's acting up again." The whole day passed in a tense wait. I tried to act as usual, but my thoughts wouldn't let me go. In the evening, when she came back, I pretended to be working in the study. She came in, said the meeting with her friend went well, but her voice trembled. I just nodded, trying not to reveal my suspicions. Late at night, I rewatched the recording. The quality wasn't great, but I made out some movement in the background. A man in dark clothes stood by the neighbor's house, looking around. I took a screenshot, trying to figure out who it could be. My heart tightened with a new realization. Maybe the neighbor wasn't just a bystander. What if he was somehow involved? I felt despair growing inside. I needed to find out more urgently. Why did she go to the neighbor instead of her friend? I had to know the truth. When I asked her about her friend, she hesitated. Her answer sounded strained, like she wasn't prepared for the question. That evening, I tried to stay calm. She came home a little later than usual, with a slight smile on her face, as if everything was the same. I waited for her to speak, but she only asked if I wanted tea. "How's your friend?" I asked casually, observing her reaction. "Good," she replied, slightly thrown off. "We just sat and talked." "About what?" Couldn't hold back. "Oh, about work and her new boyfriend." She turned to the cupboard, and I noticed her fingers trembling. "That's a lie. Her friend recently broke up and said she wasn't ready for a relationship." A chill crept over my skin. "Are you sure she has someone?" I pressed. She paused for a fraction of a second, then nodded uncertainly. "Yeah, she kind of mentioned it." Her voice trailed off. After dinner, I retreated to the study again. My mind couldn't wrap around it. Why did she lie? And why go to the neighbor instead of her friend? I opened the camera app on my phone. The bedroom was once again engulfed in darkness. I put on my jacket and went outside. I walked along the house and stopped in front of the neighbor's windows. The living room light was on, and shadows flickered behind the sheer curtain. I listened, but only muffled laughter reached me. My heart sank. When I returned home, she was already lying in bed. I stood at the bedroom door, listening to her steady breathing, but couldn't take a step forward. I needed to find out the truth, no matter the cost. I couldn't hide my anxiety any longer. Questions were tearing me apart from the inside. I had to hear the truth, straight from her lips. I sat down in front of her, trying to keep the tremor out of my voice. "Be honest. Are you hiding something from me?" I asked, looking straight into her eyes. She froze, as if searching for words, but just replied shortly, "What do you mean?" I exhaled, feeling my anger boiling over. "The camera in the bedroom. You turned it off yourself." "Why?" Her face tensed, her lips quivered slightly. It just bothered me," she answered uncertainly. "The LED kept blinking." "Really?" Couldn't hold back. "Then why do you always turn off the light when I call? And why?" I clenched my fists to stop myself from shouting. "Why did you lie about going to your friend's place? I saw you go to the neighbor's." Her eyes widened, and I noticed her taking a deep breath to calm herself. "You're spying on me?" Her voice shook, but it sounded more angry than scared. "I'm trying to understand what's going on." I couldn't control my voice. "You're always nervous, leaving without explanations. What's going on between you two? She abruptly stood up, turning towards the window. Nothing, she said coldly. Are you sure? I got up, trying to catch her gaze. The neighbor said you asked him to fix the wiring. But I don't remember any problems. Silence hung between us like a heavy shadow. Then, without turning around, she quietly said, You made it impossible to relax at home. These cameras. Constant control. I'm tired. I froze as if punched in the gut. Could it really be my fault? Had my concern turned into surveillance? But then why did you go to the neighbor? I whispered. I can't talk about it, she replied dryly. Her silence only fueled my suspicions. What was she trying to hide? Her words echoed in my head, I can't talk about it. Why couldn't she? What was so terrible about the truth? I couldn't sleep all night, tossing and turning, trying to grasp any possible explanation for her behavior. She lay beside me, breathing so softly as if pretending to sleep. My heart pounded with rage and despair. In the morning, she got up quietly, trying not to make noise. I heard the front door close. This was my chance. I rushed to her phone on the nightstand. My hands trembled as I unlocked it. In her recent messages, nothing suspicious. I scrolled through her chat with her friend, short phrases, good night wishes. Everything looked normal. I was about to put the phone down when I noticed a backup notification. Photos. My heart sank. I opened the folder, many pictures from my business trip, our evenings together, and one picture that burned into my eyes. She was standing in front of the neighbor's house, next to him, both laughing. Her hair was disheveled, cheeks flushed. The date exactly the day she said she was at her friend's. My legs gave out and I sat on the bed, feeling like my insides were being torn apart. Why did she lie? Why him? The sound of the door opening made me freeze. She came back, holding a grocery bag. Seeing me with her phone, she turned pale. What are you doing? Her voice wavered. You lied to me, I whispered, not looking up. Why? She didn't answer. I looked at her, searching for any sign of remorse, but her eyes held only silent despair. Why him? I asked, my voice breaking. She lowered her head, saying nothing. I couldn't bear the silence. I needed to know, why did she choose him? I looked at her, trying to understand how everything fell apart so suddenly. She stayed silent, and that silence felt like an endless abyss. Why? I repeated, my voice betraying me. Why him? She slowly put the grocery bag on the floor, not raising her eyes. It felt like the whole house was drowning in oppressive silence. I didn't mean for it to happen, she whispered. I exhaled as if releasing all the pent-up anger. Can you just tell me the truth? I asked, almost pleading. You don't understand, her voice trembled. It's not what you think. Then what is it? I saw the picture. Why did you lie to me? She clasped her hands, trying to hold back the tears. I wanted to, she said softly. You got so absorbed in work, in control. I stopped feeling like I meant anything to you. Everything turned into routine. The cameras, the endless checks. I just wanted to feel warmth, attention. Just a little. Her words cut deep. I tried to find an excuse for myself, but I realized I really had become obsessed with control. Why him? I asked in a muffled voice. She wiped her tears and looked at me with a hint of bitterness. He was just there at the right moment. I didn't seek it out, it just happened. I stood in silence and walked over to the window. Snow was slowly covering the windowsill as if sealing everything inside. I realized that all these cameras were just a way to mask my own insecurity. I wanted to protect her, but instead I pushed her away. I don't know what to do, I finally said. She stepped closer, but I felt an insurmountable wall growing between us. I'm sorry, she whispered. It's too late, I replied, staring into the white void outside the window. Control didn't save me from betrayal. The cameras showed the truth, but they didn't prevent it. I realized that I tried to fix something too late, something I had already destroyed myself. Now, between us, there was emptiness, and in that emptiness, I had to find myself again.